Hello and welcome to the KD Weight Loss Podcast. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. I thank you very much for tuning in again, and I really, really appreciate because actually over the last 2 weeks, especially since I did that episode of Rachel, there's been a massive influx of new and returning members and subscribers and bits like that, but on YouTube, on Apple, on Spotify. And I just want to say thank you from the very offset that I'm really, really appreciative of that because I know everyone's super busy, and just the fact that there's so much information out there and there's so many people you can think about. Why should I trust them and why do I need to think about this? The fact that people are choosing to listen to this and actually get some insights and kind of take it on board, I really, really appreciate you for spending your time here. So I just want to start off with that. But the topic today, I really want to talk about something very, very, I think relevant is the word I'm going to use here because I'm going to move the microphone. It's annoying me. Very, very relevant because we're in the middle of summer right now, July. Kids have been off school for about a week or two by this point. If you're in Northern Ireland, in England and stuff like that, they might not be off fully yet, or they're just about to get off, or no, they must just finish by this point. And the point is that you're now in this point where kids are always around, they're always bored, they're constantly hungry, they constantly eat, and you're ready to lose your brain. You're still trying to pay for holidays, still trying to do holiday shopping, and then you're about to go on the holiday, and then you've got to come back and go back to the real world where the kids are still here. And even if you don't have kids, the post-holiday blues are a real thing, especially if you've been losing weight prior to that to build up to that holiday, because it's a very common thing that I've got 8 weeks to work towards this, I've got 12 weeks to work towards this. When you come back and you have nothing to work towards, it's very jarring. It's very easy to fall out of love with what you're doing, fall completely back into your old ways. And this episode is going to kind of touch on a bit of a real story that I'm currently working on with my clients. So it's not even the finished product, it's actually an ongoing thing because she just returned from her holidays. So I wanted to talk about that. I'm really trying hard to look at the camera this week, by the way. No, I'm actually really trying hard to look at the camera this week because I know I've got this technology that can course correct my eyes, but I'm trying to really practice doing it. All right, technical issues over, hopefully. So my client, she started with me on my last 6-week challenge, okay? And did the initial 6-week challenge and got on very, very well and continued afterwards to the point where within 8 weeks, she lost about roughly 13 pounds and about 40 inches off her body. That is fantastic. She then went away to Canada for 2 weeks, enjoyed it guilt-free because we kind of worked on, as I mentioned before, we worked on this strategy before for her to go away to make a choice about how she wants to go on holiday. She wanted to go away. She wanted to switch off. She didn't want to be tracking or do anything like that. But she was going to be an idiot either because she was staying with family, so they're going to have lots of access to things like salads, to things like the grill, and all the actual like home comforts rather than constantly eating out. They still ate out and they enjoyed those things, but it was a purposeful choice to enjoy those things. That was the big difference. So sorry, I got really bad throat this week. So what she's now facing is that she's back from holiday, and like I said before, if I told you about it, she's a very busy retail manager, and the issue of being a busy retail manager is you are looking after everyone else but yourself 9 times out of 10. And she starts stupidly early at 7 in the morning, won't finish till 3, 4 o'clock in the afternoon. She's got to travel half-hour minimum each way. It's a lot on her plate to manage. So coming back from holiday, adding that on top of it, excuse me, come back on top of from holiday, adding that on top of it, you're really, really going to struggle. And it's very easy to blame yourself for this problem, but it's not you that's to blame. It's now all the situation that was before, the person you were before your holiday. That's all different because you don't have the same situation now that you're on the other side of it. You don't have the alluring part of the holiday. Like, I've got something to work towards. You now have to live for real life, which is actually really boring and brutal, if I'm honest. And I do it a lot with my own training, but it takes a different type of person to be able to do that because women are so used to doing 6 weeks this, 10 weeks that. The only reason I run my 6-week challenge is a trust building exercise to prove that you can lose the weight and I can actually do my fucking job. That's it. But realistically, there's no time frame with this stuff because your change doesn't have a set timescale. It depends on how many years you've had maybe eating struggles with. It depends on how much your family maybe reminded you that you maybe you need to lose a bit of weight. It depends on whether you were bullied as a kid. It depends on so many different things, right? That you can never label it. And the reason why you want to lose weight might be because you want to feel better, but where that comes from deep down is going to be so different in everyone. So, look, as I mentioned, this person's been really desperate to get back to her habits to the point where she's like, look, it's all on me to get back into the flow. And I agree with that to some extent. She has to action this. But me as a coach, I'm like, no, because you're like, I need to track. I need to do my weight. I need to protect my food. I need this. The list keeps growing bigger and bigger and bigger. That's fucking overwhelming. So I need to do as a coach is be able to break this down into something really simple, really small, so she gets a quick win. And when she gets a quick win, it's easy and attainable. But that quick win is going to give her motivation to attack the next step, which is going to build her back up. But it's also making her aware of who she was before the holiday, where she is now, and what the differences in that scenario is. So if you've ever felt like, I'll start again on Monday for the 5th, the 6th, the 7th time, and you always crash out after holidays, especially building up to the summer, the end of summer when the kids are more of a priority, this episode is really for you. Because at the end of the day, one of the biggest things you're always going to hear, and you probably told yourself before, is I'll get back on it when life is less stressful. I don't know any woman in my life where life gets less stressful, really. Like there's always a constant level of stress. It's just like there's a little bit more, a little bit less, a little bit more, a little bit less. It's never empty. It's never not busy. It's never not stressful. So you cannot wait for that moment because you're never going to get it. And it may sound cliche, but fuck, you're never getting there. So you need to learn to take action when you're stressed. But taking action, taking time, it gives you time and freedom back later on. Because if you don't invest in this small time to help plan and figure things out, you're going to constantly be chasing your tail and always feel a lesser version of yourself. So how and what have I done with this client? Like I said, so she's struggling really. She's like kind of a week and a half in now since she's been back from holiday. She's really kind of like not feeling it, a bit disengaged and really struggling. So what can I do as a coach to help her or help you in this scenario? And the first thing I want to break down is this idea of a perfectionist mentality. I've talked about perfectionism before in this podcast, and it's just brutal. It controls your life, and it can really steal away any value or any actions you do and just reduce it to nothing because it's not the best thing ever. It's not the optimal. It's not this. It keeps you in a free state of, I'll do this when it's perfect. I can't do this unless it's perfect. It's a protection mechanism from self-sabotage. That's basically what you're doing to yourself. You're stopping yourself from doing any action because if you do no action, you cannot fail. And you will only do action unless you can do it perfectly. And again, I will ask you right now, think of 5 things in your life you have done perfectly. I can't think of more than one, like realistically off the top of my head right now. Because at the end of the day, when you come back holiday, you're not trying to be perfect. You're just trying to get back on track. You're trying to move forward from where you are today. So today, you're not tracking your food. Today, you're not tracking your weight. Today, you're not thinking about going to the gym. What one small thing that is closer to those things can you do? So in the aim of food, why track food? Okay, right. So I know my client here, one of the best things because her and her daughter work with me, one of the best things her and her daughter do is they both eat the same dinner, and they either eat it together or they cook it and they share the dinner, throughout the week. That means if one of them's in a positive position, it will influence the other one. So I've asked the daughter and her to connect over that because that's the one meal they always had really good control over. They would always work together on that, and they can lean into each other with motivation rather than feeling like I have to track every single bit of my mouth. So for her, it could be just nail your dinner for every day this week. It might doesn't have to be 7 days, but for 4 or 5 days a week, nail your dinners. Make sure it is perfect, on the point, like that. And that's, I say perfect, obviously, but make sure you nail that one behavior. Because if you nail that one behavior and you're like, I've got my dinner under control now, you don't really need to think about it the next week that much. You're just like, all right, what's dinner? Boom, done. Then it's like, well, what can I address now? Well, I've been feeling hungry in the mornings, right? Okay, and that's been affecting me snacking. Right, now I can add breakfast in the fold. And you see how this spirals. I keep hitting my fucking microphone. I'm actually having a laugh at myself today. I'm going to move it further away from me. What's up? And look, let's stretch this now to movement. Okay, so maybe you are one of these higher achievers that you hit 10 to 12k steps a day, and you're just not feeling it. Like going for a walk is just like, fuck, what's the point? I don't need to put the effort in anymore. Because again, you don't have that same drive. You don't have that outcome goal of the holiday to look good for or in shape for, feel better, and do you? You don't have that anymore. Now you just have to do it because it looks after your body, which is boring as shit. Why don't you bring that down to 6K? I've always said before, 6K steps, right? 1 is really easy to attain, actually. But 2, 6K steps, right, is where you get all the health benefits of walking from and the most amount of effects in terms of improving your longevity of your life. So why not go for 6K? Do that for 4 to 5 days at least. Again, if you can do it for a week, even better. But then once you've gone that, it's like naturally you're in the flow of that again. But no matter what behavior we're talking about here, again, the gym, train 4 days a week. Why not train 1 to 2 days? Just get yourself in there. Lower that bar to entry because once you're actually in the door, you can keep rolling. I don't know about you, but I'm not much of as much of an anxious person anymore. I've dealt with a lot of my issues there. But one of the things I used to really struggle with as an anxious person was when I had to go into a new building, it was where do I park? Where's the door? What direction do I go once I'm in the door? All the worries and the struggles and the stresses that would freeze me because I didn't have that information. Once I was in the door, I was absolutely fine because I was like, all right, go there, boom, and you just keep following the process. This is that same mentality. Get your foot in the door, start walking once through the door. You'll find your way around. It's just scarier getting started again. And this next one kind of ties in with that last one. Lower the barriers of entry, but get yourself a quick win, right? If I told you you can feel good in 1 week versus feel good in 6 weeks, you'd take the 1 week one straight away because even if it's less, you want to feel good sooner. We want that dopamine hit. We want to feel just that, I feel nice, that sort of thing. I don't know why I did a fucking Hulk grunt, but still I did. So basically what you're trying to build with small wins is what's a fancy way of called self-efficacy, which basically means it's a I can do this belief, right? And when you believe that you can do something, you're more likely to do the behaviors that achieve it. It's very like the self-fulfilling prophecy idea. If you tell yourself you cannot achieve something, you're more likely to find behaviors that align with that and you actually don't achieve the goal you set out to do. I can't do this 10K run. You'll probably find a way naturally to make that happen and come into existence because you won't train. You'll give yourself excuses. Whereas if you tell yourself you can do this 10K, you're more likely to go out and join a running club. You're more likely to go and do runs when you don't want to on the rainy days. You're more likely to do the behaviors that actually get you towards that goal. So again, I've already mentioned with this client, I talked about doing the dinner with her daughter, like maybe 3 to 4 times a week. Start with there. In terms of steps, why not just add a simple walk at one stage of the day? She starts early, so let's not go there. Why not have your dinner and then go for a 10-minute walk after that? Really, really simple. Again, break the barrier. You've already done the positive behavior from eating the dinner together. Now tie in and anchor another habit to that and be like, right, I'm going to bridge in a 10-minute walk now, because if you bridge in that 10-minute walk, you're now stacking a habit on top of that, but you're also building something really small, really low entry to achieve. And again, gives you that win. I got out for a walk. I increased my steps. And again, this is the thing, by the way, there is a big difference in walking. If you're toddling along, do like 1 kilometer an hour versus doing a bit of a, not exactly a power walk, but you're walking with some intent and some gusto, like you can get a lot of steps and a good bit of like good sweat on in 10 minutes. You'll be really surprised. So again, your intent behind it works as well. So 10 minutes intent for walking, go, off you do. If you get yourself into the gym 10 minutes before the workout, go for a walk and on just the treadmill. Just build that habit with something else that's already going on. Regarding weight, like I've given different options to this, and it all depends on the person and their choices here. If you're someone who dreads the scales after coming off a holiday and you know it'll derail your motivation, I've already said 2 to 4 weeks. Don't fucking jump on them. There's no point. Do the good behaviors for 2 to 4 weeks. Tick all your boxes. Come back, check your weight later on if you want to. If you're someone who wants to check the scales, right, and it's important to you to get back to that and get that habit back into place, because again, it's a very useful measure in certain stages of weight loss, then just jump on the scales 1 to 2 times a week, 2 to 3 times a week, whatever it is, more than what it was daily. Okay. Just starting off that behavior in the first place. And I've already just touched on anchoring habits there, right? Anchor and pairing. It's the same idea, but basically the anchor is something that you commonly do already, right? Whether it's brushing your teeth, whether it's making a cup of tea in the morning, that's the anchor. That's something you do religiously without question. It's just part of your, like, kind of your nature, your DNA at this point, right? That's your anchor. Then you pair something to that anchor. So for this client, dinner with her daughter is quite an anchor. They do this all the time. This is how they do it. So why not use that dinner to maybe start a meal plan conversation? So how many, what are we going to eat for the rest of this week? How have your breakfasts been going? Initiate the conversation between each other. Go back to your family now. You might have kids. You might be like, oh, should we go do food shopping after this? And then you start thinking about, oh, what do I need for the food shop? And then it spirals into you going onto a quick website. Like I use Tame & Twins all the time. It's a fantastic website, family friendly, easy to cook meals that are low in cost as well. Maybe it spawns into that. Me and my girlfriend do it all the time. We're doing one thing where we're talking over a cup of tea, like, oh, we need to plan dinner, because we got the anchor of the tea, and now we use that as like a discussion place to discuss things we need to remember. It's like, what do we need to do today? Right. We need this appointment. We need to bring the kids there. We need to do this. That's how you get around those kind of anchor points. So it doesn't have to be mind-bogglingly crazy or difficult or anything like that, but it's basically using something you already do to make another positive behavior come from that. And I think one of the last things of this, right, is that when you come back from holiday, and I'll hear this sort of stuff, and I'm not going to read exactly the check-in, but like the type of comments that you'll give yourself, right, when you come back from holiday, I just need to get my shit together. I just need to put my head down. I just need to, I should. The weight of all those shoulds will weigh up, by the way. They are heavy. They are judgmental. They are, I'm not going to use the word toxic, but they're very, they weigh a lot, take a lot from you every day. because they're expectant and they bring shame and guilt upon you if you don't complete an action. So try to stick away from the I should or I have to sort of mentality. I know it sounds a bit wishy-washy, but it's like I get to, I'm allowed to, I have a choice here. That's the first part. But also acknowledge the fact that just because you can't get back in the flow doesn't mean you're lazy. I see this all the time with the amount of people that brands who I'm just lazy, I'm just to get on with it, I need more willpower. No, you fucking don't. You need to actually recognize and give yourself compassion that beforehand you set yourself up for this 6 to 8 week challenge to get in shape for this holiday. That holiday's been past. You've had the dopamine rush. You've had all the highs and experiences. Like you've now come back to a fucking intense 40-hour work week, having to cook your own meals, living in a country that's maybe not as warm, although to be fair, it's been warm quite recently. But all these things that aren't that great, and now you're being asked to do all the things you did before for an outcome that's not even there anymore. That's not lazy. That's just different rhythm. That's okay. You don't need to punish yourself further. If self-criticism, and I love this quote, if self-criticism worked, it would have changed you already. You cannot hate yourself into change. Nor am I telling you to love yourself. I'm just telling you to hate yourself a little less. Because so many women hate their very existence, hate everything about their bodies, hate how their brain is, hate how they always think about food, hate, 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 hate. One thing, can you hate a little bit less about yourself? Give yourself that compassion. I had to work on it in counseling for years. It's fucking brutal. Everyone else deserves better than I do. Everyone else deserves my time. Everyone else deserves to be treated like royalty, but I don't. That's how I used to live. And that's how so many clients I work with live, that everyone else is before them. But you've heard the cliche statements. You can't water someone else's grass unless you look after your own. You can't tend to someone else if you don't look after you. When it comes to your body and your health, you cannot look after other people until you care for you. So take away the failure. You haven't failed. The only way you fail after post-holiday blues is by quitting. And that is what the majority of women will do. They'll do their 6 to 10 week trade. They'll go on holiday. They'll come back. They'll be like, well, I've already fucking ruined it. And they'll do that. Or it'll be too difficult to get back on track because they haven't got any support or anyone to help them, that they do just give up. You can't fail if you don't get back on track, right? Straight away. If you get back on track in 4 weeks' time, you're not failing. That's you breaking that cycle of giving up, right? It might take you 4 weeks to get back into the flow. No one said it's going to take 2 days and you're straight back in it, boom, bang, off you go. No one said that. It might take 4 weeks to. It might take 2 weeks. It depends on the person. It depends on how used you are to doing this. If you're not used to doing this, this is going to be abrasive. This is going to be different. So when you notice yourself catastrophized in this sort of situation, like I've blown it, or I'm never going to get back on track, or anything like that, just overgeneralizing catastrophe style statements, take a second, pause. Just pause for a second. Acknowledge the fact that you've blown this out of proportion, or you've extrapolated it further than it needs to be. This small, I didn't get back on track, I didn't track my calories today, does not mean you fucked it, right? Reframe that. I didn't track my calories today, and then use the word but. But. We love buts around here. I don't know why I just said that, but hey, we're going with it. Anyway, we love buts. The whole point of the but is you are making yourself change the course of that statement. Reframe what you just said. I failed because I didn't track my calories, but tomorrow I'm going to make a better dinner. Tomorrow I'm going to be more mindful at my lunch. Tomorrow I'm going to have protein in my breakfast. It ain't perfect. It's far, far from it, but it's so much better than going, you fucked it. That small action just breaks that normal cycle, because the reason you go through that cycle is that cycle of self-criticism and catastrophization, so common to you. You know it like the back of your hand. We seek comfort and familiarity. That is what that is. That makes things feel normal to you. By breaking that, it feels abrasive, it feels different, it feels uncomfortable. Uncomfortable doesn't mean it's wrong, though. Uncomfortable often means you're stretching yourself to places that you need to go, which you probably were too scared to before. And now you've got the right support, you can actually do it. It seems counterintuitive, but I see it so many times on a daily scale with the women I work with. So the summary of all of those small points, realistically, reduce the friction, bring the bar to entry down. It increases your ability to follow through with your actions, get a small win, which will then give you a base. You're building the pyramid, small wins. Then you can build up to bigger behaviors, then bigger behaviors. I told you, we love pyramids, okay? That's all we're trying to do around here. We're not trying to reinvent the wheel. This shit ain't sexy, but this shit is coaching, because this is about discussion. This is about choice making. This is about actually attacking things that happen in your day-to-day mindset and thinking that dictate your life. It ain't actually just calories in, calories out here. This ain't just exercise. This is how do we change your behavior? And this is why so many coaches online, I think, are full of shit, if I'm honest, because it is. There's your workout plan. Build some muscle. Anyone can do that. Here's your calories. Anyone can fucking do a calorie deficit. Someone can show you, people who can show you how to change food, how to make it easy to make a family dinner, how to use the foods you like to make a meal plan that suits you, how to stop yourself binging on those biscuits, but still allow you to enjoy them. How to break that mindset behavior that whenever you've eaten those biscuits, you're a failure, because you're fucking not. You've just never been given the grace to be allowing yourself to have that. That is coaching. And if you've not experienced that, I feel sorry for you, because you've been let down by every coach before you. But this is also why I offer out my 6-week challenge. And I'm not shamelessly plugging it here. This is a legit reason. That 6-week challenge is to show you this is going to be different. This is not just here's some calories, on you go. This is, what are you struggling with? What are your biggest struggles? How can we break those down every single week into small challenges, small actions that I can help you with? And the purpose of that, and the purpose of breaking down those small challenges, is to prove that you can actually make changes that go beyond calories in, calories out, changes beyond going to the gym. It's to rewire your brain to prove to you you are not a failure and you can do this for the last time. But also, I've said before, no coach seems to bother teaching how to keep the weight off good without tracking. I will tell you now, I use tracking very heavily at the start because you need to. Sorry, I just had to pause because the kids came in there and I lost my trail of thought, and I spent like 10 minutes like being, what the fuck did I even just think about there? But yes, going back to my point is that most coaches for some reason don't bother teaching you how to keep keep the weight off without tracking. It's a 10-week, get shredded, here's your calories, you hit the targets, they get the photos, they fuck off, and that's it. It's like, no wonder you put weight back on. Like, to be fair, everyone will put weight back on from their lowest weight that they achieve in a weight loss cycle. That's something that's not told to you from the day one. The lowest weight you hit, you will never maintain. You'll probably maintain about 10 to 20% above your lowest weight, because that's the sweet spot of usually. But you still have to be shown to do that. Again, on my 6-week challenge, it is tracking heavy. I won't lie about that. The point is, tracking is there because you need to be aware of those small behaviors. I had a conversation with 2 in-person clients yesterday who said the same story I've heard over and over again. And they're not wrong for saying it. They genuinely believe it. I don't eat a lot. I don't understand how the weight doesn't come off me. And I just said to them, I was like, look, I've only been working with them recently, so I cannot comment on the rest of their life. But here are some really small ways that eating less actually means they're eating more. Because even though their meal may be small, right, it can be high in calories. I have a client, right, the other day who she went and got an iced matcha coffee, an almond croissant, and one other thing. There was 700 calories in that. If you told me you had a croissant, a coffee, and like one other small thing, right, and it was 700 calories, right, you'd be like, oh, but I'm not eating that much. You're not. It's tiny. Like, that would not fill you up. That's a snack. You know what I mean? That's a little pastry. But 700 calories, that was nearly half. Like, she's about 600 calories. Nearly half of what she'll eat in a day in that one small thing. And then I said, simple little things. There's other ones, like if you have a teaspoon of oil, there's about 100 to 200 calories in there based on like a teaspoon to tablespoon, right? That sort of thing when you cook your dinner. Then you have higher fat meats, for example. Instead of using 5%, you might be using 15 to 20%. They're nearly double in calories. Like, there are so many small adjustments in your cooking where, for example, you're not actually eating a lot of it, but the calories per portion are extremely high because they're not made in certain ways. That's why the idea of simple swaps, and I champion this in all my coaching, simple swaps. It's not always high protein, this, to be fair. I've always argued the point that high protein foods often aren't labeled high protein because they don't need to be. Things that are labeled high protein are only doing that to market to you and fucking sell you something for more than it needs to be. Case in point, if you've seen Baby Bell Lights, which are common, they are two of them are 100 calories for 10 grams of protein. Baby Bell have now released the black ones, which are Baby Bell proteins, which have less protein than those for for the same amount of calories. Figure that fucking one out. But yeah, I've lost my trail of thought. I'm just ranting. I wanted to rant in this one at one point. But yeah, the simple food swap I did, it's about changing the types of oil, changing the fat percentages in your meat, maybe using some more chicken thighs and chicken breasts as opposed to chicken wings and like fried chicken all the time. You can still include those sorts of things, allowing yourself biscuits, but pairing it with some fruit or protein so you feel fuller. Like those clients said, they don't eat a lot, but they maybe are putting the weight on. But again, their activity was incorporated into that. How they were cooking their foods, what type of foods were they using? Were they using full fat yogurts? Were they using fat-free yogurts? All of these things can validate that claim that they aren't eating a lot, but they're eating a lot of calories. food density is a massive thing. Food volume, sorry, is a massive thing. You could eat 100 calories worth of cucumber and it's fucking loads of food. Whereas 100 calories of Haribo is very little. It is tiny. I'm sure there'll be a graphic out there somewhere that proves that point even further. But again, no one seems to show you how to lose the weight and keep it off. That is a set of skills. That is a set of skills you probably have never learned, nor are ever given the time to learning. And you wonder why you always regain the same weight you lost. Because you never were taught it. That's like being taught how to drive, then being expected to tow a trailer. You weren't taught the extra skills necessary to do it. Of course, you can drive the car, but you don't know how to do the bit on top of that. So you're more likely to have an accident and crash and then not be able to drive again. That's my point. So I'm not saying any of this is easy. I'm not. But I'm saying you need to start thinking about what you need to do different. And if you've lost weight before, fucking fair play to you. It ain't easy, right? I'm not someone who's maybe spent most of my life losing weight. I've spent more of my life actually trying to learn to eat food in greater quantities and not be scared of getting fat, because I used to be severely underweight and now I'm about 25, 30 kilos heavier than I used to be. And that was a hard journey in itself. But I've worked with, by this point, hundreds of women who are scared of, food sometimes, and they feel like they're always losing weight. I've just made a plan with one of my clients, teaching her about, after this last holiday she's got coming up in July, we're going to work on increasing your calories to show you how good it feels to eat more calories. You won't get fat. You'll actually shape more than you ever expected, because if you're trying to build something and build a body, that's what you need to do. So we're getting her out of this constant dieting mentality. She said all her life, she's only in her mid-20s, by the way, all her life she's been thought about shrinking herself. And that's awful. I think this leads on to this last little bit of a rant. I'll wrap up with this. Two things this morning on YouTube came up on my page, right? Weight loss adverts. One by Juniper, which is a weight loss injection. So it's like a Mounjaro and that Ozempic based brand. The one positive thing they do is they have onboard nutritionists and dietitians that will actually help guide you through the nutritional stage. Fantastic. There's some blunders I'm going to talk about there in a second. And then another one was the fucking Sun newspaper. The fact that the one thing I love about living in Liverpool is they didn't buy the bullshit from the Sun. Like, the Sun is a fucking diabolical newspaper, by the way. Newspapers in general full of shit. Like, I can't believe people read them still. Impartial news, my fucking ass. I'm going to go on another rant here for the wrong reasons. But what did they find again? Let me find it. See if I can find it for you. So what the Sun have decided to report this week is they found a study, one random study, and they found a compound that was increased, and it's called betaine, right? So they now have said, the researchers, I don't even believe the researchers would have said this, to be fair, because I read some of it and it's like, this is quite questionable. The researchers have said you might be able to get the benefits of exercise without the need to break a sweat by taking this compound instead. If we went by that fucking logic, right, exercise increases cortisol initially in the acute phase, right? So if you took anything that exercise actually increases in response to exercise, right? And then we're like, oh, if we gave you this, right, it will mean you'll get the benefits of exercise without having to exercise. Cortisol in the long run is not a helpful hormone. It is a helpful hormone in the body because it is a stress response hormone and it actually has a really important role. But when it's high, it's chronically high and elevated, it does cause problems. But based on that logic, as I just said, if I gave the people cortisol, they'd get the benefit of exercise from that. And the way the Sun are reporting it is so misleading. Because I looked into the wee bit of the study, it's like, it just shows another interesting compound that exercise could have a positive influence on. Right. Doesn't mean you should be fucking taking that as a supplement, though, does it? And it's like, if you're worrying about what supplement to take, that is not where we should be going in with this. Like, it is the cherry on the icing on the cake. And I'm going to jump back to this Juniper one here, right? These are a bit more credible because they are scientists, right? I've mentioned a bit about how it can be a bit sketchy when it comes to scientists, right? Again, they're using weight loss injections which are viable. They've been proven to work. They have their downsides in that there are health risks. It doesn't address the exercise component, and without food changes and habit changes, they will fail you long term still. So that's one thing to bear in mind. But the way they're selling it on their website quite pissed me off, actually. So during periods of high stress, levels of cortisol can increase. This increase in cortisol can increase appetite and may make it difficult to maintain healthy eating habits. That is not an incorrect statement. That is absolutely true. However, that's a symptom. The trigger and the cause of that symptom is not purely cortisol, though. Okay. The trigger of cortisol, what causes the cortisol, is stress. So the thing you need to actually address and deal with the cause is stress. It's like how depression works sometimes. Like people get depressed from high stress environments. They become depressed in their life. The depression is the symptom. It is not the cause. The same in here. Your cortisol is not the direct. Of course, it's the hormone that causes you to have inflammation, stuff like that. But it's not the. It's not the thing that caused the problem in the first place. Stress is what caused the problem in the first place, and that's what this is missing. Mounjaro and that are not fixing your stress. You're still going to be stressed. It's just going to negate it somewhat. It's just, yeah. That's one of my issues there. Another one of the issues on this way they're selling it to you. Decreased estrogen levels during menopause or perimenopause can lead to increased visceral fat around the abdomen as well as decreased muscle mass. This is a well-known fact that in menopause and perimenopause, women's body fat will redistribute from kind of more outer areas to more central areas around the tummy. That is very, very common. Again, a true fact. Mounjaro is not fixing your estrogen or your menopause issues. It is not fixing your estrogen or your menopause issues. HRT from your doctor, and I know that is a bitch to get through. My girlfriend has told me about the journey of it. Fight that journey. Go fucking private on HRT if you have to and prove that point. I know that's harder. Do not fall into the trap of buying a supplement to replace hormone replacement therapy. It is there for a reason. Again, talk to your medical professional about it. Don't be buying a fucking weight loss supplement to fix your menopause hormones. No. Deal with the root cause from the menopause first rather than buying a weight loss supplement. No. I've said it before with menopause. Exercise will do more for you in terms of your menopause than a supplement would any day of the week. You still need HRT if that is causing you bigger stress than that. The next one, the genetics argument. The genetics argument on this, Juniper, with the weight loss injections, right? Studies have been showing that up to 80% of weight is determined by your genetics, which can affect appetite, satiety, metabolism, food cravings, and body fat, which all of these are very, very true. Again, weight actually has been shown to be affected by your genetics, but a lot of people then use this as the anchor to justify and, again, take no action. Again, they're doomed to fail before they set off. There's actually a really interesting study. I've read it. And it's basically the perception of people who believe they're high metabolism versus low metabolism, right? And they basically then measured them to see what the rest of the metabolic rate is, which means you lie in a bed, you breathe into this mask, and it says how many calories you burn at rest, right? Both groups showed roughly 1,700 calories burnt at rest, regardless of whether they perceive themselves as higher or low metabolism. There was 50 calories difference between the two groups. 50 calories, that's it. Like, that is it. So high and low metabolism is a thing, but your perception of it does not mean you are. That is one thing, right? However, in the same study, though, they found, though, that the energy expenditure between the two groups was much larger, from as little as 150 calories burnt through energy, through activity, up to 500 calories burnt through activity. I don't usually encourage people to burn calories via activity, but this meant more like walking and stuff like that. But if you were someone who's only burned 150 calories through non-exercise, like walking and stuff like that, versus 500 calories, the person who's doing 500 calories is going to find it easier. In terms of effort, they have to make more effort, but it's easier, air quotes, to lose weight for that person. That was another thing to bear in mind. And then the other thing, and this is the other interesting thing, heavier people, so more obese people, naturally, they feel like, again, their metabolism is slower. There is a thing that shows that their body has to work harder because they are heavier. It's a very odd way of thinking about it, but like when you think about it, it actually makes sense. They are heavier. They're basically carrying a weight vest around them every single day. And it's harder, but then that makes them move less because it's harder. So that's where the conundrum is. It's like they weigh more and it takes more energy to exist at that weight. But at the same time, their body makes them move less because it causes them pain to move. It feels exhausting to move, all these sorts of things. So it's not a metabolism thing half the time. 9 times out of 10, it's the fact that your body is trying to conserve energy because it costs a lot of energy to be obese. Again, those types of people, I understand weight loss injections, I really, really do. But again, I would say it to the cows come home. Without exercise, without food habits being changed, they are pointless. And then I guess the very last one I'm going to do, just address this juniper thing, right, on the metabolism front. Slower metabolic rates take longer to produce energy, meaning you may require fewer calories than you thought to maintain a healthy weight. One of the biggest things is when we lose weight, there's this thing called metabolic adaptation, right? And it's where we actually need less calories the more weight we lose. It's a very common thing. People, I'm going to say, over dramatize it. Like, it's a thing, it's a real thing. It's only 3 to 8% of your weight in terms of calories that change, sorry, in terms of your calories that change. So I think I did it off a 1,700 calorie, 1,600 calorie person. I'm sorry, off an 1,800 calorie diet, right? It basically means you'd have roughly a range of 50 to 140 calories in terms of difference. So yeah, you might have to diet as low as 1,600. That would suck, but it is not as extreme as people think. That sometimes is just avoiding a little bit of an extra snack that day. So that is sometimes going for an extra 30 to 40-minute walk that day. I'm not saying this shit's easy. I'm just saying that the numbers that keep you feeling trapped actually aren't as big as you think. If we flipped it on its head and thought more about, again, I talked about the other week, fitness is a better predictor of your health than fatness. Being fitter is going to mean you live longer regardless of your body fat. Body fat still contributes to how long and how healthy a life you're going to live. But if you're fitter, that is far more important. So why don't we place the emphasis on looking after our bodies, being stronger, being fitter, that sort of thing, eating a little bit better in our grand remit rather than being perfect. I know I've ranted a lot today and I know I've gone on a lot longer than I actually wanted to, but there's just a handful of things I saw this morning. I was like, I can't believe the barrage I got this morning. And I know with some of the topics today, like it's very easy for it to just be, it's very easy for it to just not be recognized how difficult this stuff can be. So if you are finding it tough, I really do feel for you. And I'm sorry that it can feel overwhelming sometimes. But this is also why I say coaching is what it is. Because coaching, when it's done properly, the way I do it, the way I believe it's done, because I live by my values here, and there's so many things I don't do. Because I don't agree with it in the weight loss industry. I'm not here to get a quick fix for people because I'm not willing to sabotage their quality of life and ruin their experience of life. If you've got kids, if you've got family, if you've got holidays, stuff like that, there's far too much to enjoy in life rather than being fucking chained to a diet. You can still lose weight, shit ton of inches, shit tons of weight off your body, feel better physically without starving yourself, without torturing yourself, without beasting yourself. You can do it the right way. And look, I'm going to say again, I'm offering out my 6-week challenge. It shuts on Sunday, the 13th of July. It is a point to prove that I can help you lose weight. I can help you lose inches in as little as 6 weeks. You will make the most progress on your worst weeks in that challenge. Every single person who has perfect weeks, I always say to them, just wait till you have one bad week and you'll see the fucking difference in terms of what we can do, because it's all about dealing with the stuff that you struggle with. You can do anything you want when you're having a great week, but as soon as you're having a hard week and things get overwhelming, that's when we shine. So look, if you're not too sure, DM me the word 6 and I'll help you out and I kind of fill in any gaps you have. But look, there's only 3 spots going. I've got one call later on to adjust. I've got one call later on to see with a lady if she wants to actually sign up to the spot. She's got a few questions. So if you are looking to get on board, get in soon. It closes Sunday. And if you aren't, well, look, hopefully this podcast keeps helping you in the right direction. I apologize for my rant because I was kind of sitting there today. I was like, what should I actually do? And I was like, holidays are quite relevant at the moment. But yeah, I went with the holiday idea and then I realized I needed a rant because some of this shit I'm seeing, again, that juniper stuff, again, it's a weight loss injection. It seems to be done better than other things. They've got better research on there. They've got better medical professionals on there. They've got nutritionists, dietitians, fantastic. I still think there's a missing link in there in terms of the exercise and other stuff because they're using physios for exercise. Don't get me fucking started on physios prescribing exercise. I love physios, but again, I'm not a physio. I respect my boundary. They're not a coach either. So yeah, just gonna leave that one there. I'm pissing on so many people today. In the meantime, look, if this helped you, as always, please drop me a comment. Please drop me 5 stars if you really do enjoy this podcast. And if you do really think someone needs to hear this, just share it with that person. The best thing about this podcast, word of mouth is the biggest thing for everything. Anything with regards to my coaching on my page is always word of mouth. I have people hear me from that. Oh, my friend shared me that. It's fantastic. So look, I'm going to leave you there, guys. I've got lots of shit to be at today and I've been rambling longer than I planned to, but I will speak with you all very, very soon.